Good morning, guys. Tony Maritato here. I am just getting out of the clinic. Came home for an early lunch. I just went for a run. I've got some coffee, and I want to talk to you about a case that I have in the clinic right now. So this is going to be a little bit of a long video, but I'm just sharing some information that I think might help other people. And I'm going to describe who this person is, what kind of case this is. And if it's not for you, just going to click off and go watch another video. But basically, this is a patient who had a knee replacement 11 months ago. She was an active individual. She enjoyed hiking. She enjoyed walking and doing things throughout the day. She was a younger adult. She had been dealing with some knee osteoarthritis that had been advancing. She would get swelling. She would get pain. She had a hard time. She and her surgeon mutually decided that she was going to have a knee replacement. And so she reached out to me because I had worked with this individual before, but she just wasn't happy with the outcome. It's been 11 months. She's still got pain. She's still got swelling. She's got some other issues, and she's looking for advice. She's looking for another opinion. So I know a lot of you out there are dealing with these challenges 6 months, 12 months, 18 months out. And I want to share the conversation we had because I don't know, it might not have been a great conversation, but I try to be as realistic and pragmatic as I can. You know, my greatest value to an individual who's coming to talk to me is not so much my clinical knowledge. It's that I've seen hundreds, if not thousands of cases over my career, and I could convey what other people are dealing with, you know? And so maybe there's some peace of mind in knowing, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not the only person experiencing these symptoms. So let me kind of go through the situation. I'm going to protect the privacy of my patient, but I want to share as many real details as possible. So like I said, this was, you know, an individual. I'm not even sure quite how old, but I want to say late 50s, active, living on her own, living in a single family home. Like, she was retired. I don't think she was working, but doing stuff outside in nature quite a bit. She was fit. She was healthy. No other problems, no past surgical history, but she had knee osteoarthritis. And so last December, when she decided to have this done, it was because she was hoping to resolve the issues so that she could get back to longer hikes and more outdoor activities. She went through rehab. She did everything she was supposed to. She wasn't gaining the range of motion as quickly as they wanted. So she did have a manipulation under anesthesia. Now, I generally find that patients who get a manipulation under anesthesia either do better or they certainly don't do worse. Fortunately, I've never run into a case where somebody was worse after an MUA, but I know a lot of patients get upset. I know a lot of patients get frustrated. They feel like something went wrong. To me, manipulation under anesthesia is not indicative of something going wrong. It is just a little help, a little extra push, pardon the pun, to get you over, you know, the lack of range of motion gains. So she did. She had an MUA. And really, when I saw her in the clinic, her range of motion was pretty good. She had full extension. She was at 0. She had 120 degrees of flexion. I believe she would have had more flexion, but pain was the limiting factor, not scar tissue or joint restriction. And so I think this is where you start getting into the difference between what the surgeon sees, what the patient wants, what a therapist might be able to bring to this conversation. So the surgeon did the x-rays, did all the normal stuff and said, look, everything is great. The knee is stable. Everything is intact. The surgery was a success. But obviously from the patient's perspective, it wasn't, because she's not happy. She doesn't feel, and I asked her this question, she doesn't feel better off than before she had the surgery. And we know if we look at the clinical data, 20% of patients feel no better or worse after a total knee replacement. So it is a challenging recovery. While 4 out of 5 do feel better, 1 out of 5 don't. I don't know how those odds break out across different age groups and different demographics, but it is a reality that a lot of people are frustrated and feel worse after they have the procedure. But what's interesting is, so I hear this communication a lot. Doctor says everything checks out normal, x-ray is clean, the patient's not happy. When they come to see me, what we do is we go into a more in-depth evaluation. So I palpate, which means I touch the knee, and I'm looking for tender spots. I'm looking, and in this case, there was tenderness around the patellar tendon. So she clearly had some patellar tendinopathy issues, whether it was active inflammation, which is patellar tendonitis, or tendinosis. There is pain at the patellar tendon. There was pain on the inside of the knee, just below the joint line, which is the pes anserine bursa. There was pain on the lateral aspect of the knee, just below the joint line, which is where the fibular head, the bone that runs along the outside of the leg, where the fibular head comes in against the tibia. And so what I had to explain was, I absolutely can see her response to the pain with palpation, but the reality is the pain that she is experiencing is not pain associated with the original osteoarthritis. So it's similar to a situation where if I have a leaky roof, I call a roofer, the roofer comes in, repairs the leak. Now the leak has stopped, but I still have other problems. Maybe my windows are drafty. Maybe my paint is peeling. Maybe my sheetrock has been damaged from the previous leaky roof. Well, the roofer did his job. He fixed the leak. But now I have all these other things that are not technically associated with the leak, but might have been secondary to the leak that are still problematic. And so in this person's case, in a lot of cases, the osteoarthritis problem is gone, but now we have these other things, the patellar tendonitis, the pes anserine bursitis, the pain at the fibular head, clicking, clunking, popping. These are things that this particular patient's dealing with that she was hoping would have been resolved, and it hasn't resolved. But the surgeon can't really resolve those issues because those issues are not associated with the surgical procedure of the total knee replacement. They're secondary issues that need to be resolved either through therapy, through lifestyle modification, through nutrition, some other form of recovery. And so that was the conversation we had. I said, I understand the surgeon's perspective. I understand your perspective. And then what we had to do was we had to look at, okay, I asked a question from a range of motion, right? When we're trying to flex the knee, her extension was full extension. But when I try to flex the knee, we get to a point where it stops at around 119, 120. And I said, technically, this could be considered full range of motion, but I know that there's more range of motion in the joint, because I do what I call a joint laxity test. I grab the top of the shin bone and I kind of stress it just a little bit front to back, and the joint's moving beautifully within the anterior posterior glides. You don't have to know what that means. It just means that I know there's more range of motion available. But what's stopping the range of motion is the pain associated with the fibular head, the pain associated with the patellar tendonitis, with the pes anserine bursitis. So it's not scar tissue, it's not joint restriction that's stopping more flexion, it's pain. And none of us would really get the motion as long as it's painful. We calm down the inflammation, we calm down the pain, we regain range of motion. I feel very confident about that. And so when I told her that, I do think it brought her some peace of mind to say, okay, that's great. That means that there is range of motion there. I've got it available. I just can't access it because the pain is stopping me. Totally fine. Other things that we talked about, were, okay, how do I know what's too much? How do I know how much I can do? She wants to go on a hike that's longer than she's capable of doing right now. So I said, truthfully, every single day is going to be different. My job would be very easy if I could find a patient and say, this is the secret formula. This is what you need to do. If you do less, it's not enough. If you do more, it's too much. The reality is we don't know how much is too much, and it changes on a daily basis. If you get better sleep, you get better nutrition, you're on vacation, you could probably do a lot more because your body will be capable of recovering from what you do, as opposed to if you were up late one night, if you're not feeling well, if you're sleeping poorly and you're eating a lot of sugar and a lot of junky food that makes you feel not your best, you're probably not going to be able to handle a lot of activity. The knee is going to be hotter. It's going to be more swollen. It's going to be more painful because it's a recovery problem, not so much a working problem. And so with that, I said the only way to really know what's too much, what's enough is you do it, You see how you feel 3 hours later, 4 hours later, or the next morning. If I go on a 1 mile hike and the next morning I feel great and I want to go again, awesome. I can try and do a 1.25 miles. But if I do a mile hike and tomorrow my knee is swollen and I can't even go half a mile, it was too much. So then I give it a couple of days, I recover back to baseline, then I do a 3/4 mile hike or a 1/2 mile hike. And I'm just always juggling to try and find where is my level of tolerance today, because it might be different tomorrow. But I think for a lot of you that are frustrated, you're not getting the answers you want, nobody seems to understand what you're going through. My best advice to you is, we don't know. Maybe someone out there does. I haven't met that person yet. I can tell you that I don't know, and the people that I talk to, they don't know either. It's a guessing game. We're trying to collect as much evidence as we can. We're trying to collect as much information from you as we can. And then we're trying to make the best educated guess we can based on the limited amount of research and data we have available. But to that point, I would tell you that I know everybody would love to give you an answer. I know everybody would love to tell you what to expect, what's going to happen, how it's going to play out. But I promise you, it is at best an educated guess based on our experience. That being said, if you guys do have specific questions, I get a ton of questions through the YouTube comments. That's amazing. I do look at them. I don't get a chance to answer a lot of them. I'm going to try right now, finish this video, go answer some YouTube comments. But I do appreciate every view that comes through. I do appreciate every one of you who subscribes to my channel. I will catch you guys on the next video.